right, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you're calling from. We have Rahat here from Polygon doing a workshop on improving UX in Web3. If you have any questions, they can go into the Zoom chat and Rahat will be more than happy to answer them. And with that being said, I will pass off the mic to Rahat.
Awesome. Cool. Thank you all for attending my talk, Improving UX in Web3. Really excited to be talking about this. This holds a special place in my heart as a former front-end engineer. So hopefully you can take this and make some really awesome hackathon projects. Really quickly about me, I'm Rahat. I'm the lead developer relations engineer over at Polygon. So my team are the folks you might see running around to conferences, doing tech talks, hackathon stuff, and all that. So like I mentioned before, I've previously been like a front-end engineer, Solidity engineer, overall just like an indie hacker and Web3 enthusiast, and these are some places you can find me. A little bit about Polygon before we start, in case you're not familiar. So Polygon is the leading platform for Ethereum scaling and infrastructure development. We provide a bunch of different types of solutions. If you've already kind of been dabbling in Web3, you might be more familiar with like our proof of stake blockchain, which was like our primary solution. Coming up in the coming months or sooner, I always have to figure out how to word that without giving too much alpha. We're releasing several more kind of like products. We recently talked about ZK EVM, which will be out very, very soon. So really excited to be talking more about that in future workshops as well. So kind of like going off of that, right? A lot of different scaling solutions like Polygon, as well as others in the space. We talk about adoption and we talk about it through scaling, through higher throughput, through making blockchain interactions and everything more scalable. But there's other aspects of it too, besides just like scaling on top of ETH. Adoption is easier if I, as a user, can use your dApp quickly and easily. And we're going to break down what that means a little bit throughout the workshop. And we're going to do that through like different types of connections and ways that people interact with your app. And the best place to begin is wallet connections. This is the point of entry for like how a user is going to first interact with your dApp, connect to it, and be able to perform any type of transactions. No matter what kind of dApp you have, there's going to be some wallet connection feature on it. So this is just a quick code example of like a handle wallet connect function. Nothing too fancy. So this is just handle wallet connect. It's an async function. In this specific example, this is how you would kind of connect to like, let's say a browser injected wallet like MetaMask. So I'm pulling Ethereum out of the window. If you're a front-end engineer and you've this is your first kind of foray into Web3, you might be thinking like, what do you mean pulling the Ethereum object out of the window? So if you have like a wallet such as MetaMask in your browser, it automatically injects an Ethereum object into it. And this is what's going to allow you to get access to things like the account that the user has in their MetaMask, connecting to it, starting to perform transactions, etc. So this would be like a basic way of grabbing information about the user and getting their address. Here's a quick demo of like how that would work in real life. So you just add a connect wallet, hit connect wallet, and MetaMask pops up. They choose whichever address they want, and you're pasting the address onto your screen. In the example that I gave before, I was just console logging it out, but in that demo, I actually put it in some HTML and displayed it onto the page. So it depends on like how you use that information and how you want to use it in your UI. Another wallet connect pattern that I see a lot of folks doing is, taking this initial function of like connecting to your wallet and then let's say you're using React. I'm using an example from React just because I've been a React developer before, popping it inside of like a use effect. But essentially what's happening here is that this function runs right when this page loads, or when this component on this page loads, right? Um, Another way to think about that, if you want to like think about it in like more of a framework agnostic way, it's just like some JavaScript that's running as soon as you hit the page. Please don't do this. So this is a tweet that I put out like a while back. This is just a pet peeve of mine. Being asked to connect your wallet as soon as you land on a page is a terrible user experience. I should be able to look around and decide if I actually want to connect to your application first. And like 9 times out of 10, unless I know who you are and like I specifically know who the developer is of this app, I'm not going to continue using your app. And a lot of people probably won't. And what I really want to kind of drive home with this kind of like pattern is like, what you're essentially doing here is removing the ability for your user or your customer to like give consent to actually like use like connect to their wallet. Like, yes, they can go into MetaMask and like reject it, right? But if you don't have any further functionality for connecting again, then how would they know to like refresh their app to like reconnect? This is a bad user experience on that side because they don't understand what they're connecting to before they connect to it. And it's just like, you don't want something to just happen on a website as soon as you land on it, right? If you think about it this way, if you just go to a website, music starts playing, a video just starts playing. That is actually something that is sort of punished by Google and like your Google search rankings. If you do something like that, it'll actually hurt your like, I think, your SEO score overall. And I would like to really drive it into you that you should view that the same way with Wallet Connect. While it doesn't affect your SEO rankings right now, I hope one day it will, so people stop doing it. But it's really the same concept. You don't want an interaction just happening on a website unless you're the one to actually begin that interaction. So this is more of a philosophical / technical thing coming together, right? And the other side of this is like, it really promotes bad security practices, because if we're training the like customers and users of our applications to just say yes to everything as soon as they land on it to start connecting and using an application, are they really going to go into every single thing and figure out like, what did I connect to? Is this like some NFT rug or something like that or whatever? You know, it's just not good security practice. So definitely please remember not to do this. I see this a lot in past like hackathons where I've like judged projects. I've seen this a lot even in like real like production applications, and it's not a good user experience overall. And there are some folks who are going to try to justify this with something called the 3-click rule. The 3-click rule states that apparently, if someone is on your website and wants to get to one specific thing, some specific type of feature, and use it, if it takes more than 3 clicks, then they get frustrated and leave. There's no data backing this up whatsoever. I've looked for it. It doesn't exist. So if you do see that justification of like the 3-click rule, even if we applied this rule, not all clicks are created equal. Not all clicks are like, should be considered among this like fake rule, as I refer to it, is because like, if you look at like a Web2 application, the first thing to do before going into like the actual app part is like signing in with email password, or signing in with Google, or signing in with Facebook, something like that, right? No matter what, that's always been like the first level of like giving consent and connecting to an application. In the case of Web3, it is connecting with your wallet. But the concept remains the same. You have to get that consent first. You have to allow the user to choose to connect first. And that does not count among the clicks that it takes to actually traverse through your application. That is separate. So we've talked about some of the clicks, some of the like initial connecting your wallet. But now we can like dive a little bit further and deeper into that side of things. Once you're connected to your wallet, sometimes they're on a different network. Maybe they were on a separate um, sort of a separate DApp. They were on another network. Maybe they were on Ethereum mainnet or whatever. And maybe your application is built on Polygon network, and you need them to switch networks when they actually connect their wallet. So getting your user on the right network is kind of like the next step in making sure that this like UX is like as fluid as possible. So sometimes when I go into a DApp and I click, maybe I'm on the Ethereum mainnet, but the DApp itself is on the Polygon mainnet. And sometimes the pop-up that I get is like, hey, you're on the wrong network, without giving me any information on like what network I should be on, or what how I can switch, or like what if I don't have the network and I need to add it. Um, a really nice built-in way within MetaMask is like you have this pop-up that can come up that says, hey, this site needs to be on the Polygon mainnet. Do you want to switch? How do we get to this experience? You can actually use the MetaMask API documentation. They have some really nice examples on how to use the window.ethereum.request methods. You can find this, like I said, on that docs. I'll also be sharing these slides out so you don't have to like scramble and copy and screenshot this. But here's just like the method for adding an Ethereum chain, and then like the parameters, which just be like the chain ID, RPC URLs, and like the chain name, etc. Once you add like this information and like make that request, you get this pop up on MetaMask. And now, like, instead of like the user having to figure out, oh, what network should I be on? You're just automatically letting them know, like, hey, we need you to switch. Click here to switch, and you're good to go. So going a little bit further for wallet connections, I showed you one specific kind of like user flow, like a user who has MetaMask, right? But the important thing for you when you're building out your applications is to make sure you're not just focusing on browser wallets, right? So abstractions are really nice. Libraries are really nice. There's a lot of really cool, awesome open source tools that can like help you out in this to make it easier, so that you don't have to like do this gigantic big request function here. So you don't have to like write your own handle wallet connect function and wrap it in a use effect or whatever. Some really good abstractions to use that make a lot of that easier is using things like Rainbow Me, the Rainbow Me kit, as well as Wallet Connect. And I think Rainbow Me actually has Wallet Connect baked in. So what that does is like it gives you just like this modal and like some functions that automatically allow you to connect not only to a browser wallet, but to mobile wallets, hardware wallets, etc. And these are great for just like being as inclusive as possible to different types of users. If your goal is to like make sure that your DApp is being used by several types of users, you want to make sure that you have the ability to actually connect to those different types of wallets. So that's where things like Rainbow Me and Wallet Connect will come in to like be really helpful for you. And another really good open source tool that like pairs with those are like the WAGMI React hooks. I think they actually have like in the documentation how you can use WAGMI with like Wallet Connect to create a nice Connect wallet functionality. And Rainbow Me is also like built using both WAGMI and Wallet Connect. And again, I just want to drive this point as much as possible. So hopefully, I'm very passionate about this point. Let your users choose to connect. Cool. Now let's talk about this, the next part of just like the overall user experience for using a DApp. And a lot of that is waiting. If you've ever been to one of my workshops, or really any workshop from anyone that has involved doing some type of like transaction and waiting for that transaction to be filled, there's sometimes an awkward pause, or in my case, I sometimes try to like distract you and talk about something else, but it's probably like a very not good distraction, and you can tell that I'm stalling for the transaction to go through. But no matter how fast a blockchain is, no matter how quick we can make it, and you know how much we improve, there's always going to be that little bit of awkward waiting time of like, when is this transaction going to finish? Is it going to finish? Is there going to be an error? What should I do afterwards, right? I want to talk about implementing what are called optimistic UI patterns. Optimistic UI patterns are things you've probably already seen in like different applications in like the Web2 world. So think of it as like, I'm on a website, I click some link that goes to another page, and that page has to then like get some information from some API. And it might take some time for that information to come in, right? But instead of like making the user wait for that information to come in and then loading the page, we preload the page with some sort of like skeleton, some type of like loading spinner or feature or something like that. I'm sure you've seen like different websites. Some examples that off the top of my head that I know, like if you're like an Amex card user, if you click on like different things for your and like this probably works on like several credit card um companies, where like you go in, you go to a page, like you're looking for your maybe your transactions or whatever, and there's like a skeleton page loading as the data gets filled. Highly recommend doing something like that. You don't have to do something like so complex as like a skeleton, but just like a little spinner or like a loading animation thing would be cool. There's like free spinners everywhere on the internet that you can just like copy paste and put in, that are free to use. So definitely look at making sure that like your user knows that you are actually that your app is loading something, maybe waiting for something externally, but your app knows that something happened and there's some sort of reaction that you're taking. So let's take a look at one of the ways that I implemented this in one of the very first dApps that I had ever built. So this is a Pokemon battle between a Charizard and a Lugia. So the smart contract that actually powers this is just like keeping track of like their HP, and it has like an attack feature. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click the use flamethrower button. Um, my MetaMask pops up. I pay some amount of gas. I hit confirm, and you'll see that now there's an animation of a Charizard using flamethrower on on this Lugia. And the reason I'm doing that is because I am waiting in the background for this transaction to actually finish, right? But I'm letting the user know that, hey, you clicked on use flamethrower. Charizard is now using flamethrower on Lugia, right? Your user actually knows that something is happening, something is going on. And that's the main thing that you want to do when a user clicks on something, like maybe it's a mint NFT function, maybe it's sending some tokens to someone else, whatever it is. Let the user know that something is happening. And let's dive into that a little bit more. In terms of like the code for how something like this would be set up. This is just some basic boilerplate code. Grabbing some contract address, contract API for whatever I'm connecting to. And then this example is specifically using Ethers, the npm ethers.js library. So I'm connecting to my Lugia battle contract. And then I have an asynchronous function called attack. And what I want you to really focus on here is that with asynchronous functions, there's all of these await keywords, right? And in between those await keywords is where you're going to be able to implement your most crucial kind of like UX and UI updates. So here I don't really have anything. I'm just like awaiting, I'm attacking, and then getting the current like HP for each of the Pokemon. But in this example, what I did was like in like my UI, I made sure that while we were waiting for the transaction to go through, that the animation of like the Charizard was starting up, right? So that's going to be how you actually make sure that your user knows what's going on in the background, or at least that something is going on in the background. So the main takeaway from that is just like distractions and updates are your friends. Distractions like the little charge art animation, updates like letting your user know like, hey, this transaction is being mined. A really good example of this, and like this is from Uniswap. So I'm on Uniswap. I want to change one Matic, let's say for like USDC. And you'll see that fetching best price thing was a little loading spinner. It was waiting for some asynchronous thing to like happen, which was just like getting information about what the current price is. And it had the little loading spinner. Now I hit swap, and a little pop-up comes up that says that like we're waiting for confirmation. We're waiting now for the user to do something. So it gives the user like some like action that they need to take. So we go into MetaMask, accept everything. You'll see a little pending animation on the top right. And you'll also see that we let the user know, or Uniswap let the user know that the transaction was submitted. They can view this on the Explorer. And eventually, again, we let the user know that everything was updated and the Matic was swapped for USDC. So again, this comes back to the whole concept of distractions and updates are your friend. Distractions can be spinners, can be little things, just like letting them know like, hey, this is going through, don't worry about it. And then showing them the results of each action that they take. So in the case of Uniswap, it was more just like, letting the user know that they need to go and click something in MetaMask. After they've clicked that, cool, transaction has been submitted. You can check it out here. They gave us the link, and then eventually we got that little toaster pop up that showed us that yes, the swap happened, everything was good, right? So the thing with a lot of apps built on like in Web3 is just like we're not really giving the user enough updates. We're not telling them what's going on in the background, and that is like key and crucial. So like letting the user know that everything, that things are happening, because people have short attention spans. If they click something, nothing is happening. Something could be happening in the background. They just don't know something is happening, right? If they don't know something is happening, maybe they get disinterested and leave your app. Maybe they start clicking again, and who knows how many times they click on some type of transaction. So you've got to make sure that you're giving the users that feedback at every kind of step, that you're able to provide that. And just again, driving this point home of like your distractions and updates, again, they happen during and after asynchronous function calls. Now, kind of going beyond the front end, what else can we do to make a better user experience? Using Polygon to supercharge your dApps user experience. One thing that I really like pushing a lot for better user experience is something called Gasless meta transactions. So this is a little poorly done map of like how you can implement gasless transactions, and we're going to be breaking down each of these individually as well. But it goes into the whole you sign some transaction, and there's an EIP that allows you to go and create like a structured signed data for this. You send it to something called a relayer, which is just some service that where you can like preload some amount of funds to essentially pay for the gas for the user. So you sign some transaction. That information is sent to the relayer. The relayer is then able to wrap that request into an actual transaction and send it to the contract. So now you're able to, let's say, like if you want to do like a free NFT mint, you're actually able to like cover the gas costs for the user. And that creates a really good user experience, especially for people who are brand new to Web3, so that they can just like quickly use your dApp and just like possibly just like look around and get used to it. Like the whole concept of like doing something like a 30-day free trial or something like that exists in Web 2, doesn't quite exist in Web 3, but this is one way you can implement something like that, like a try before you buy type deal. So coming back to EIP 712, which was the first sort of signed transaction thing that I mentioned, inside of like in like the ethers documentation, a quick way of doing that is like with this sign type data method. So from a JavaScript front end, you can create the signature, and it's just like a JSON object. You put whatever information you want into it, and you send it to some HTTP endpoint provided by a relayer. Relayers can be found through like Open Zeppelin Defender, Biconomy, Ethereum gas station network. And at the end of the day, you're just making like a post request to some endpoint that they provide you. And this is something that is really awesome and well implemented by Lens Protocol. So Lens Protocol allows you to do a lot of like their social media kind of stuff, like liking, replying, and interacting with folks. It all gets like stored onto the Polygon blockchain, but you don't have to pay any gas for it because they're using something like a relayer in the background so that you don't have to worry about gas. Which creates like an actual really good user experience for like a Web3 social platform. So again, these are just like, different things you can do to improve UX. It's not just front end, it's also kind of like the back end layer and different things you can do to make the overall user experience better. Something like Gasless, meta transactions are economically viable on a solution like Polygon. Doing that on like Ethereum mainnet will probably get prohibitively expensive, especially if you're like, trying to pay for gas up front. And yeah, just thank you again for attending this talk. Just leaving some of my information up here again if you want to come find me. And if you enjoyed this talk, please let us know. You can tag us on 0x Polygon Devs or tag me on Twitter at Rahat Codes. Thank you all. I did see just a couple quick questions. So do you have a library recommended for Svelte? I'm not too familiar with Svelte, but I can definitely take a look at some and drop them in chat if I find any. Yep, Lens Protocol was something that they enabled gasless transactions with. While adding a connect wallet button to the website, like a homepage, how do I know whether the user has already connected to the website without calling connect wallet in UseEffect? To know if they've already connected to the website. So if you use like, certain libraries like, Rainbow Kit or like Wagme hooks, they have like built-in hooks that allow you to see if like, a user has already connected before. So I think generally, I think most people probably won't connect, manually, I guess probably through MetaMask. So I think that's probably like an edge case that may not come up too much, but yeah, there are certain functions in like those libraries that'll help you out with like figuring out if there is a connection or not. But yeah, cool. I think that looks like all of the questions. So thank you all. And really looking forward to seeing what you all build during this hackathon.
Awesome. Thanks, Rahat, for your time to do this workshop for ETHOnline. It was super interesting. It was a side of like things that even like I haven't seen before. So loved it.
Awesome.
And thank you to the rest of you for tuning in. The workshop recording is available on YouTube for you all to reference back to at any point throughout the next month. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to Rahat or the rest of the Polygon team. They're also available on the sponsor Polygon Discord channel in the ETHOnline Discord server. So yeah, with that being said, I hope everyone has a great rest of your day.